Welcome back to Bannerlord Abridged, where last time our wars in the desert came to an end and we went up to fight with one of the empires instead. In this war we won some big battles and captured some castles, and I even got 2 castles for myself, one after the other, but we immediately lost them, so ultimately nothing happened. Now we're at war with one of the other empire factions, and we've just been given another castle, so we've got an extra chance. Here's the place. Like some of our other castles, or all of our other castles, it was on the front lines, so it's a bit of a difficult place to defend. And it also has the disadvantage that it's not a very good castle, it doesn't have a garrison, and it's lacking most of the buildings actually. We need to do a lot of work here to get this place up and running, especially doing things like that, the wall upgrade, which will probably help if we're actually going to hold this thing. Dumping some cash on the problem seems to be an option, that will speed up the construction. So I think I ended up putting an absolute load of cash in there to build things up nice and fast, and then while walking around just picking up a couple of troops, the inevitable happened. 300 enemy troops come over. That's not that many with my over 100 troops in my party. If this had been one of our other castles, we probably would have held it, but this castle has no garrison. It's got like 7 guys or something defending it naturally. So I decided, well, we're probably not actually going to hold this place. Then I thought, wait a second, we've got some time because they have to do the siege before they can attack. I can create an army to force some allies to come down here and help me out. I think I had the right idea with this one. However, it turns out that all of the allied parties are already in other armies. That means we actually can't do this, unfortunately. Well, maybe next time. For now then, I thought, well, I'll just walk off and not have the castle then. On the way, I did a very bad job of not fighting that enemy party that was sort of in front of me, so we end up in battle with these guys who have about the same party size as me in even engagement. This one's going to go quite well for us though, because I was able to stand still and just rain arrows on them as they gradually walked towards us. And a lot of their guys didn't have shields, so this looks pretty good. Meaning the bounce bars a bit better once the fight actually starts. And then, my troops are a bit better than theirs in melee. I have fewer recruit tier troops, and their men start routing early on. Then I charge at their archers, trying to get the cav to follow me as well, and they start moving back and trying to skirmish away. Looks like things are going very well. The balance bar already is super far in our favour. We have annihilated the enemy in the first few seconds of the engagement. So we're fine, and here's the eventual result. We annihilated them. We only lost 10 men to take out 100, that's a good ratio. And we actually have the chance here to capture their commander. In this case, I'm not going to go for it because I don't really need the money you get from ransoming enemy commanders. You can get a bit of influence as well, but that's not too useful. However, it turns out that letting them go barely does anything either. You get a tiny bit of relationship with them. Would have hoped for some more so we could eventually convert them onto our side or something like that. Looks like that's not going to happen anytime soon via that method anyway. We lose the castle then. I went north to rejoin our main army which was nearby, and the army actually immediately turns around and goes back towards the castle. So soon enough we're back down here, and because it's only just fallen there's kind of nothing here, and because it's a terrible castle as well. So I auto-resolve this fight. It actually goes really badly. We lose absolutely loads of stuff because I presume it factors in the enemy's siege defences in some way, but when the enemy army is that small they probably wouldn't have actually killed many of us on the way in. But all that aside, we do end up getting the castle again, so the cycle continues. We're in and out of castles. Here's another in portion of the video. At least we do have a decent army, like just in our party. We've got 100 troops and many of them are quite good. That means when these smaller enemy parties show up to destroy our villages, we can go out and contest them and actually just take them down. This doesn't necessarily stop a giant army taking the castle, but it means the castle's in better shape, it has food and stuff, and it means these small parties won't be going to join those big armies, so I guess it does help in the long run. Anyway, as for this battle, we had a pretty big advantage. I just stood there, the enemy ran at me, we've already got like double their strength as the melee fight starts. I'm trying to convince my cav to go out and attack the archers at the back. I'm pretty sure there is some way to specifically say one of your groups attack one of the enemy groups, but I don't know what it is. Doesn't matter in this case because the enemy rout after a short melee, so we're going to be picking up the win here. That's a village saved. I moved on to the east afterwards, and pretty much the same thing happened again. There was another party of like 60 enemies. They run at me. They've got a bunch of recruit tier troops, who are nice and vulnerable to arrow attacks, and actually in this battle, they don't even really get a melee going. They run at us, take so much damage and morale shock that they start running away as they arrive. So that's all looking good. I was using my melee troops to form shield walls at this phase in the campaign, but I don't really need to do this because the enemy's infantry will just die when they arrive, so it would be a bit faster if I just charged and finished them off. But eventually, we do get through that battle with pretty much no damage to us, all good. And here is this happening again, basically. Don't know the circumstances, but you can see I'm being pretty lazy about things. The enemy melee have charged me, I'm just like, no, I'm not moving, I will shoot you in the face with my bow. I'm not even going to change my weapon. This seems to work out because the enemy aren't interested in attacking me, they were just trying to get past, so got away with that. And this time we're going to break formation and just kill the enemy a bit faster. So we've done that a couple of times, we've saved our villages, and we get a result in the end because our empire gets peace with the empire, meaning we're now at war with people who are quite weak actually, and people who are far away. That's the important part. So we're no longer on the front line, we're like right at the back with our castle. The chance of our castle falling in these wars is minimal. So at last we've actually done this. We've managed to take hold of a castle, and we're going to hold it for more than a few in-game days. With this in mind, I thought let's get everything queued up. We are going to upgrade this place to the max, in particular getting the walls and the things that increase the size of your militia stat there. That means you can get a few hundred troops to defend it even if you're not there, so small armies might have trouble taking it. All I did then was queue it up and then sit in the settlement waiting for stuff to build. So let's cut to sometime in the future when I went to go and join the wars again and see what was going on. And here we have a big army going out to attack the Northern Empire. The Northern Empire faction's much smaller than the other ones because the other ones have been taking them down basically. So nice, easy war for us to deal with, and this looks like a doable assault. We've got 1,000 troops against their 300, so we're going to win out in the end in this situation. Even though things are actually going pretty badly, if you look at the balance bar, we're losing troops real fast, the enemy aren't really, and it's because of the old climbing over the ladders thing. Our men is being mown down by the enemy's militia archers. So that's that. I was trying to help out by sniping away and got a few decent angles, but couldn't really see what was going on. Looks like I ran low on arrows, so I went to go check the killing fields. And yes, there are a bunch of arrows stuck in the ground. Annoyingly, you can't take an arrow out of a corpse, which is where most of the arrows were. But still, grabbed a bit more ammo, and then helped out a bit more with the attack, sniping in the windows. The nice thing about attacking at night, or twilight I guess it is the enemy turn the lights on inside their towers, so you can see where they are on the inside, nice and easy. A while later, I actually went in to participate in the melee inside the gate. We have the enemy totally surrounded here. We've basically guaranteed victory, but I thought I'd do some polearming. Our attacks are really weak, surprisingly. You'd think you'd be able to kill like an unarmored guy from the back with a spear thrust, but it doesn't really do that much damage. And to some extent you can't just say, well, the spear isn't very good, because even a bad spear should be able to kill someone if you thrust it into them. I don't really know. I feel like the weapon damage on everything should be a bit higher in general. We lost a few hundred men doing that, but so did the enemy, and we got their city. So the Northern Empire's in trouble, but our army doesn't go to finish them off. It goes home, and so I leave the army and go home myself, go back to our castle to see what's going on. And what's going on is the construction has been ticking along nicely, and gradually this pretty bad castle is turning into a pretty good castle. It doesn't take all that long to fully upgrade everything if you spam in the money with that reserves thing at the top right. We've already got the walls and defences maxed out. We're going to be building up the militia with some of the other buildings, and here I threw in a governor from my companions. It explicitly says that this doesn't do anything on the tooltip, but I thought I'll do it anyway, thinking surely it doesn't do anything, but as far as I can tell, it actually doesn't do anything, or if it does, it probably just doesn't tell me about it. So maybe that guy will in some way improve our construction efforts if he's overseeing it. Miraculously, I now remember to go to the shop and get some better equipment with all of my vast riches. I accidentally bought 2 extra bows. I bought one that was quite a lot better than my terrible bow, and then one that was a bit better than that as well. I could actually get an even better bow, the Noble Longbow. And even though I have the perk that says I can use any bow on horseback, the thing is, it doesn't work, so I couldn't use it, and I did save scum to back out of that decision and get the Noble short bow instead. Anyway, with my new equipment, I went on to go see what was happening with the wars again, and a castle assault was going on against the Northern Empire. So first priority, get all of my troops and put them safely at the back, because they are not going to help in any way. And now let's move up and try out the new gear. I also got better arrows, by the way, which gives you a bit more damage as well. And now we are really in business, because you can see the damage we're doing is much better than it was before. We can kill an unarmored opponent in one hit without a headshot, and we can kill armored opponents in one hit with a headshot, and probably almost kill them with body shots as well. We're doing like 70 damage against the guys who look like they're wearing armor. So that's pretty good. Now all I need to do is pluck away and make this ladder assault a bit less slaughterous. There's some absolutely insane ragdoll physics going on with the corpses of our side just kind of floating up out of the walls. Don't really know what's going on there, but it's not going to be as bad as it looks because I am mowing the enemy down. Soon I ran out of arrows, and I go up the ladder myself after that part was cleared out, mainly just to look for arrows. I thought there must be an arrow stash somewhere where I can grab some more and get going. Unfortunately, I couldn't find one. Tried going up these stairs to look, but there's an enemy in here. All of our allies have just run past this tower, so the tower wasn't as clear as I thought it was actually. We take down that guy, but another guy comes down the stairs. Always worried about doing melee combat because my polearm skills aren't going to be very good. I'm mainly talking about my real life mouse skills, that is. So eventually I do find some arrows somewhere further on from the tower, and then I come back to the tower thinking this tower isn't clear, I'm going to clear it out. Actually, it's really not clear. The lower floors are still packed with enemies. Our guys just ran past it. Actually, a lot of our guys are glitched out on the wall. You might have seen them earlier. Most of our people aren't attacking, which is why the siege assault's kind of stopped, and I'm doing it for some reason. We eventually get a bit of a fight going on another tower, the next tower along, where a few of our guys are trickling up some stairs into some enemies, and again, I'm helping out, sniping away, even not shooting my own men there, had the chance to do so and actually declined, a surprising twist. Eventually I went into that same tower to see what the hold-up was. There were just a few guys up here mowing people down as they go up the stairs. Tried to help out myself, but no, our guys do just get mown down instantly. Then I make a critical miss with my bow against that guy who's chasing me, and I just run for it, not wishing to die. He was behind me and I see him pull out a crossbow, so I start zigzagging. Then I thought, well, I can probably shoot faster than he can, I'll go and snipe him down. But I got hit by something. Not sure how, but somebody damaged me in there, and that was the end of that. I'm sure there was an enemy hiding in the shadows or something. Anyway, that was a bit of action. In the end, things went well for our side. I got something like 35 kills, personally. Quite a few, and our army did the business. We get tons of influence and renown, even though our army actually didn't really help at all, so that's really what we like to see. After that, the castle goes to someone else, and I thought I might actually chase down some Northern Empire armies. There's barely any Northern Empire left, as you can see, just the odd bit here and there. So that means their parties are going to be small, and there's one small party nearby. So we can chase them down, and with our 100 troops, just straight up defeat all of their parties in field battles to help our side out. I had to wait until I came back to life after my recent death, and by the time I'd done that, the party I was chasing was nearly dead due to a battle with another faction I guess they're at war with. So this is perfect. We can come along and just snipe away at enemies, leaving our own troops behind, and if we hit our own side, it doesn't matter because our own side are actually another faction that will be a rival of Khuzait, so it's fine to sneakily kill some of their troops as well. Good stuff. Then I rushed over west, chasing another small party which ran away for a long time. Just 20 or so guys, so we can easily take them down, and I even found a really good exploit to use against them. They were defending a hill, so I just sniped away from a distance, and it seems the AI actually doesn't react to being hit by arrows, so their commander is gradually killed as we snipe away at him. Didn't do much damage because he's got the best armor, I guess, but we do take him out. What I thought is they might charge over the hill when their commander dies, like it was in Mountain Blade Warband, I think. But they don't. I end up getting closer to the hill, shooting some arrows over with the rest of the archers. Then they do come over to attack me, and that's the end of them. They run at me, get hit by jabs and arrows, and that party is down. So yes, I think they need to change it so that if someone's being hit by arrows, they at least like shuffle left and right or something so that you can't do that. Anyway, then that battle we just saw basically happens again, the exact same thing, with pretty much the same number of troops, but this party is an army, the only party in it. So by taking them out, we've stopped the enemy from coalescing together and perhaps counterattacking, and we took out the enemy commander there as he rode in very nicely. And those cav probably aren't going to make it through our men, not really trying to stop them, but they can't do much. And after that, the proper army actually came along, so it was less taking out small groups and finally time to make a decisive move in the area, and the army does go and attack a nearby castle. Looks like we've got a nice big advantage, and now it's sniping time. Now that we can take out enemies really easily, I think it really does help in these siege attacks because you can wipe the enemy archers off the wall quite fast, and that probably does save a lot of damage from hitting your side. Looks like some of them are daring to attack me, which is outrageous. I'm just standing in front of the wall. Usually they kind of ignore you in this battle. Looks like they tried. Nothing else happened, didn't see any more action, just saw a few glitched lamps hanging in the air. That was interesting, and that was the end of that. And with that I actually decided to leave that whole front, because we're also at war with the Nordic style faction up at the north end of the map. So here's me coming down to just see what's going on with this whole thing, and the answer is I think we're winning pretty badly actually. The enemy have like one settlement left and they're stuck in this corner with some of our forces around taking them out. They've got millions of really small parties, so this is an easy chance for me to start jumping in and taking them out. The thing about this is, I don't know if this is actually useful, because what I believe happens is you go in here, you take out a party of like 20 guys, and if you release the prisoners, as I often do, they just respawn with 20 guys literally immediately. I think they changed it in one of the patch notes I read that it spawns them later and with fewer troops, but in this case, I think this isn't doing anything. I guess I'm gaining experience or something, leveling up some troops. But yeah, I think it's kind of hard to really finish off a faction, because once they get down to like one city, all of their 20 nobles are constantly respawning with 20 guys each, so they always actually have a moderately big army hanging around that tightly clustered area. Here was a battle that was a bit more significant. There was like 100 of our guys fighting 100 of theirs, and I stepped in with my 100, giving us a big advantage, but of course my 100 really slowly walked towards the battle to make sure that it's basically over by the time we have to risk any troops. This is good, loyal service to Khuzait, I assure you. Now I'm going to skip over like 5 more of those to get to this more interesting part. One of our armies came over, and I thought maybe we'd actually go in and attack the town to end this thing. Unfortunately, the army ran out of cohesion in front of it. So I thought, well, maybe it's time for me to shine. We need to step up to the plate and just remake the army ourselves, so we can spend a bunch of our influence to call in mainly just the guys who broke out from the previous army to come back into the new one. Then we'll have a few hundred troops together and we can go for the town. The issue is though, well, it's the thing I mentioned earlier, that town is packed with enemy parties, as you can see. And it is like 20 parties of 20 guys, so there are 900 troops defending it, way more than towns usually have. And that's a bit of trouble, because my grand army isn't grand enough, especially when walls are taken into account. For some reason I end up fighting this small party just outside the town. I think these 50 guys were willing to come in and battle us for some reason. Not sure what their plan was, but it didn't work. We came at them with the entire army's battalion of horse archers and cav and just annihilated them with no real fight. But then the real fight begins. I came in to besiege the town. I thought we don't have the numbers, but maybe we can siege them out and make them run out of supplies or something. The thing is, they sallied instantly, so we've actually got a field battle. Now it says it's 1,000 of our troops versus 800 of theirs. That is a glitch. It's the other way around, so while it claims we have the advantage here, it's actually them with the advantage, and because it's going to be a field battle, that is a problem. They have more stuff than us, so we need to trade efficiently. We do have the difficulty on our side there at least. The main issue for our army will be that everything's up to me, because I'm the army leader. I'm the guy telling all the small units to do the various things, so we need to actually do a strategy and a plan, which is a bit annoying actually, because I'd rather just go out and kill enemies. We need to pay attention in this fight. I wasn't really sure what to do, because this was my first time giving proper orders when it mattered, so I just kind of stood there, and eventually out of the darkness and snow comes a whole bunch of enemy cav. They're coming up on our left, and I've put all of my cav on our left as well, so that's convenient. The thing was, I was kind of hesitant to order my men to attack them, thinking if I give a charge order, will they charge those cav, or might they charge off to the other end of the map and attack the enemy archers or something? We do need a way to specifically target like an area or a squad of enemies with your own squad, and I feel like there must be one. There was one in Warband, but then again, not everything that I actually remember from Warband was not modded, as I've mentioned before, so maybe you can't do that. Whatever the case, our cav are pretty outnumbered by the enemy, so this isn't the best fight. What I tried to do here was get everyone to pull back behind our infantry line, because the infantry turns to face the enemy cav. I thought, can we draw their cav through our infantry line so they take a whole bunch of damage? But it didn't really work out like that. They just started walking off in the opposite direction to where my cav were going. So no decisive engagement there. I'm being hit by a lot of stuff, and as I ride out to brazenly engage the enemy in melee, my horse takes a load of damage, so it's basically down now. But there's a big issue too that I can now see. This is where I need to pay attention and not be in the melee, because we almost got completely outflanked. Normally your troops kind of face the average enemy position, but in this case they were looking at where the cav was in the past and had their flank totally exposed to the enemy's main blob. Luckily I was able to work out the controls to manually rotate the formation to face the right direction. The enemy stopped advancing and we kind of looked at each other for a while, and then I decided to press my infantry blob into theirs. I think both sides are in a shield wall formation, so we're both being very cautious. At the same time we're being cav charged there on the right. Got my own cav there, so they might be able to hold them off. In the meantime, I'm even closer to dying as I get hit by some more stuff since I'm right in the action, and the enemy break off from our formation, so I thought let's chase them. I'm using the charge attack here, by the way, and I'm sure people will be telling me that I could have used advance here. At this point I didn't know about advance, basically. Advance is like charge, I guess, but less so. So with advance maybe you keep your formation a bit more or something. In this case I'm going to be using combinations of go to position and charge to try and control my formation. So like right there, we charged the enemy for a bit, but then I stopped because I don't want to pursue them across the map, and I also wanted to attend to this mess at the back. The enemy's cav are all over the place, but broadly speaking I think we're winning the cav fight. The enemy seem to have lost a lot of horses, and either cut down a whole bunch of their troops as well. So we reform and get ready for another push really. We need to just keep trying to get the enemy into melee fights where our blob might beat their blob. But waiting around for them to attack us isn't really the best thing, because they do have a lot of archers and horse archers, so I think our line's being thinned out slowly. Here we get a good engagement. I think what happened is just their skirmishers came to attack us in melee at close range, and everything else ran away, so it looks like there's been some miscommunication among the enemy ranks. Thing is, they are totally outflanking us here with a bunch of guys. At this stage they start to fall back from the main engagement there, so that's good. But things are getting messy because the back of our line and the left flank are engaged. And because I've ordered my men to face a direction now, the auto-facing thing has been turned off. So I wasn't paying attention to that, and means my guys aren't actually taking the best fights right here. Eventually I decided to clear it up by basically ordering everyone to just attack. Also took some more damage myself right here, and this is the point when I started thinking, right, I'm going to stop fighting myself. We probably need to stay alive to get through this. I don't think there's any like morale shock or something if the commander dies. Well, there might be, it just doesn't tell you, I suppose. But yes, in this case, I order the men to charge out, and we kind of charge in all directions at once, which is the thing I don't like about charge, which is why I wished I wasn't using it. But anyway, we do start clearing up the situation because now our men aren't facing a particular direction. We can start pushing away the small groups that are attacking us from all directions. Looks like I'm still going out and fighting the enemy. I just can't resist, but now we're going to get back in amongst our troops and try to stay alive. So yes, we clear up that mess, advance a bit up the field, and then reform a shield wall. More enemies are running towards us just for some reason. You can see their main formations at the back of the map there, but they're just charging in with some light infantry, and they're just going to die, so that's fine by us. We'll keep gradually moving up, and I wonder if I'm being baited here, because I kept shuffling forwards to attack more of these isolated guys. Now we are now like 2/3 of the way up the map, close to the enemy's deployment zone. I was reforming everyone together, noticing there the enemy are totally outflanking me over that hill with a bunch of cav. They're going to be behind us with their cavalry in a second, so I've moved my cav to be at the back as well, ready to deal with that. The issue again is that I can't tell my cav to kind of charge in that direction. I was too worried about giving them an attack order because I thought they might charge the other way and go and attack the enemy's front line or something. So my way of dealing with that is to first order them to move right to the back of the map and then say charge, guessing the charge AI will prioritize things that are closer to them. So maybe the cav will now deal with that fight at the back. The fight at the front, well, we're just sitting here being hit by arrows, so I decided to advance. I'm going to start moving the archers up to the left to try and take advantage of the hill over there. We do have a totally exposed right flank, but we're just not going to do anything about that. Luckily they're not going around us with their cav over there, they go into the front of the main battle line. So that's alright. And now, with the two sides kind of doing something off to my right, I'm trying to get the archers to move around up onto that hill on the left to get some nice line of sight over the enemy. Unfortunately, the enemy once again have just fallen back after exchanging a couple of blows with our shield wall. And again, I'm going to take this bait and keep advancing towards them. I wanted to do this is what I was eager to set up, to get the enemy to fight my line and pull the archers around on their own to be shooting into the enemy's right flank where they're nice and weak against arrows. We do get this going, but only for a few seconds, because after a couple of volleys, the enemy fall back. I order my archers to charge for some reason. I figured that if you give an archer unit the order to charge, they'll just sort of keep shooting at anything that's in range and then move when they're not. But they do sometimes run into melee or go and shoot at point blank range. So not quite working like I wanted to. I'm sure there is a way to do what I want. But yes, the enemy are again falling back, so my ultimate plan did not work. We didn't get us around and pound, and I'm going to be cautious and keep reforming our shield wall. We're still creeping towards the enemy, and now you can see the real problem. My units are mostly actually out of vision, because my reinforcements are now really far away. Their reinforcements are right behind their line, and there you can see the enemy army is forming up into an enormous blob, but it's actually got a lot more stuff than us. So while we've managed to get to a situation where the balance bars are kind of equal, most of our stuff isn't near the fight. Had some issues there with the orders again. I realised my men were about to get outflanked, so I ordered them to charge for like 2 seconds to break their facing, and then to fall back. Don't know what's going on. Basically, I don't know what I'm doing. But we end up with this situation again. The two sides are once again facing off, but I started to actually make some moves on them. I sent my cav out to both of the enemy's flanks, in particular the flank on our right where we can get above them with the horse archers. And I also had waited for a bit before this move for some of my troops to catch up. You'll see more of them gradually streaming into the back of our main formation, but we have a few more men now. This is where the main action happens really, because we've got the enemy pressed up against their end of the map, and I started thinking we just have to go for it. The infantry are just going to charge into the enemy. My whole archer outflanking the enemy plan wasn't really happening. I've got the archers in square formation because they were being harassed by cav. Not sure that does all that much, but sort of practically thinking, when their cav charge into the archers, they'll get stuck a bit and won't be able to pathfind out, so that might actually help, even though they're not like holding out spears or anything like that. So yes, our infantry are now just piling in against the enemy's main blob, and our cav are going to attack from both sides, with the horse archers coming over the hill on the right. That should be particularly effective. I realised that we're mainly actually facing archers at this point. The enemy have tons of archers in a massive spread in front of us. I take some more damage, I'm still somehow alive. But yes, this is the situation where we need our men to just be charging in all directions. So the charge order is perfect. The enemy is skirmishing away in all directions, and I want to just pin them down and try to finish them off somewhere in the chaos. You saw me there looking backwards for a second, where most of our troops are still at the back of the map coming from our reinforcement zone. So as I've ranted about previously, there is really a practical advantage to fighting at your end of the map because of the way reinforcements come in little groups due to the limits on the game engine. Anyway, in this case, even without most of our troops actually in the fight, we are able to push the enemy away because they rout and all of the archers can be chased down. So, we conclude with a final victory. We lost more than half of our stuff, but a lot of that will just be wounds, so it's not that bad. We lost 350 men, perhaps a bit less than half of our stuff, and the enemy army is just gone. In this case, since there were like 20 or something lords participating in the battle, we're going to have a few captures to go through, and we want to imprison everyone to keep them out of the next fight, because we do need to finish things off, and we're just going to skip to that. Basically, we attacked the town. There were 20 or something people still inside it. So we make a siege assault, take the town, and that's going to conclude this successful campaign. Looks like the Sturgians are down. We don't have all of their territory because other factions have been invading them at the same time. I guess that's why they lost. But still, we've got our little part of their territory, and it was Attili herself leading the battle that won the decisive final engagement, so we can claim the glory. Although that has no in-game effect, you just get like a normal amount of influence for doing something like that. Would be better to just go and kill 5 looter parties or something, which is a shame. Anyway, so we'll leave it here for this part. With our glory, I decided to go home and disband the army. But it looks like the Khuzait are doing okay in the war so far. Let's see if we can keep that up.